Yesterday, the so-called fact-checkers at PolitiFact flagged a viral post of mine. They called it misinformation. This coming after last week's presidential debate when I called out ABC News moderator Lindsay Davis for this exchange with former President Trump.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
Well, as I pointed out, those two women are wrong. I put this up. In 12 states, children born alive after a failed abortion have no legal protections. And in 3 more states, children born alive after an abortion had legal rights that governors like Tim Walz repealed. Now, PolitiFact has wrongly labeled that misinformation and worked to get the post removed from social media, like Facebook. Now, let's fact-check the so-called fact-checkers. Joining me now to help with this is Mary Szoch. She's the director of the Center for Human Dignity here at the Family Research Council. Mary, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Okay, so let's fact-check the fact-checkers. Walk us through PolitiFact's claim and point out where their facts, quite frankly, are wrong.
Well, PolitiFact argues that federal law, including the Born Alive Protection Act of 2002 and state homicide and infanticide laws, would give protections to unborn babies who are born following, or to babies who are born following an abortion, to newborns. But what they ignore is that because of the lack of enforcement requirements on the 2002 federal statute, and because of the lack of state laws in states like Minnesota, that newborn child the abortionist is not required to provide the same type of care to that newborn child that he would provide to any other baby born at a similar gestational age. So oftentimes what is happening here is that baby is left on a table to die as the result of the wounds that were inflicted because of the abortion. And so we do have instances of babies who are born alive following abortions being left to die.
Okay, so whether or not an abortionist, a doctor, as we saw with Dr. Gosnell in Philadelphia, whether or not he inserts scissors into the back of the head of the baby or just leaves the baby on a table or in a box to die, is there a difference in terms of the outcome for the baby?
No, there certainly isn't. And for those who think there is, I would challenge you to think of a healthy newborn baby. And if the doctor who delivered that newborn baby would just leave that baby on a table, that baby would certainly die. When it comes to newborns, they need care because they're newborns and they're vulnerable, regardless of the state that they're born in. Newborns who have been attacked brutally in the womb, who have been attempted to be poisoned or burned or dismembered, those babies need extra care. And they're at the mercy of the abortionist who was trying to take their life. And still, with being at the mercy of the abortionist, still we have 277 reported cases of these babies being born alive following abortions.
So this would be like saying, well, someone who attempted murder, and then we're going to trust them to render aid to the person that they just tried to kill.
Right, and that's one of the key things with what happened in Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz, he repealed, as you noted in your tweet and in your Facebook post, he repealed the requirement for the abortionist to preserve the health of that unborn child, but he also repealed a requirement for a medical practitioner to be readily available who could also provide care to that unborn child to avoid the scenario that you just described, where we have the person who was attempting to kill that baby being the one who's now responsible for care of that child. And so in repealing that, he's really trying to cover all the bases there and make sure that no babies survive.
Well, but they also do not report. I mean, so it's the information that's out there right now. So they say it's not happening, but we don't know because they're covering it up.
Right, and that's one of the things that PolitiFact said in their statement. They quoted a pro-abortionist who said the instances of babies born alive following abortions are vanishingly rare. Incidentally, that pro-abortionist was referring to what's happening in Minnesota, where the numbers that are being reported are vanishingly rare. But I have serious doubts that suddenly the number of actual babies who are being born alive after an abortion has just considerably gone down.
So, Mary, I want to play a clip of former Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia. This was when he was governor. This was in January of 2019. Clip 4, please.
If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
He's talking about a child that survives an abortion, is born alive. How would PolitiFact rate that?
Well, it seems like PolitiFact would say, well, you know, the laws would protect that baby. When what we know is that Governor Northam, who was a physician, knows that when you're in the room, there's a discussion taking place.
Right.
And that child's life hangs in the balance.
Mary Szoch, I want to thank you for joining us. We rate the PolitiFact unfactful, is what we rate them.